Number 34. Number 35.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Carol Herrera. I'm a 16-year council member with the City of Diamond Bar. I have in the past been president of the LA County Division of the League of Cities. I've been president of the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. Currently, I'm a chairperson of the Tres Hermanos Conservation Authority, vice chair of Foothill Transit, chair of Four Corners Transportation Policy Committee, which works with SCAG. I have for many years been very active regionally because Diamond Bar is located in the Four Corners region, where the four counties of Los Angeles, Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside come together. Diamond Bar shares transportation, economic, and social issues with the cities from these different counties, and two major freeways intersect our city, and so we are constantly working with these cities from the counties to reach solutions. Diamond Bar has over 18 years history working with cities and crossing county lines. Some of the organizations are the Wildlife Corridor Conservation Authority at JPA, the Four Corners region, as I mentioned. The cities in the Four Corners have found that they are frequently left out of meaningful planning projects, particularly related to transportation. The 5760 interchange has been noted as the most congested interchange in the nation, and Diamond Bar has a vested interest in working with the cities. We would ask that you lump Diamond Bar with Chino Hills, Rowland Heights, Walnut, and Brea in the same district. When you have representatives that live in and experience these things, you get better representation. And if there's any questions about the big blank spot under Diamond Bar and Rowland Heights and Brea, I'd be happy to answer and tell you what that is.
What is that?
It's some of it is unincorporated LA County, known as the Shell Oil Era property, 3,000 acres. Some of it is the Boy Scout property, another 3,000 acres of open space, and some of it is the Tres Hermanos area, which is part in Diamond Bar, part in Chino Hills, undeveloped.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Number 36. Number 37.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Steve Ty. It's my privilege to serve as mayor of Diamond Bar this year. I also serve as a delegate to the California Contract Cities Association, and I'm an alternate to the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments and the Foothill Transit Authority. In most places in the state, it's interesting that you're from so many different places. I would say to pay close attention to county lines. However, as I think former Councilman Yao would tell you and bear out, that there are parts of Los Angeles County that seemingly blend into San Bernardino County, and the same could be said of parts of Orange and Los Angeles County. What I'm asking you today is to please pay attention to our needs for regional representation and give less weight to a county line that was drawn in 1889. Our community is the southeasternmost corner of Los Angeles County. It often gets shortchanged on transportation funding and related issues. We're literally at the edge of San Bernardino, Los Angeles, and Orange County. We share these problems with our neighbors in San Bernardino County and people in Brea and Yorba Linda as well in Orange County. The Four Corners Transportation Advisory, as Mrs. Herrera was saying, has Diamond Bar, Brea, and other members. The SCAG has provided support for Four Corners, and that committee has been in existence for 18 years. We need representatives who will fight for us across county lines because our neighborhoods, transportation, economic, and educational issues cross county lines. It doesn't matter if you're Chinese American. It doesn't matter if you're Mexican American. It matters that the issues that impact us are transportation related, they're regional, and we need representation to represent Diamond Bar, Rowland Heights, La Habra Heights, Whittier, Hacienda Heights, and we would appreciate if you would take that into consideration. Thanks very much.
Questions? Yes.
I actually,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tai,
Yes. Yes, Mr. Yao.
so far, all the population numbers of the cities that have been mentioned add up to approximately Assembly District. Would you care to comment if you were to talk about a state Senate district or a congressional district, what other cities you would like to be associated with?
Sure. I would manage it along the lines of what I consider a transportation corridor. You know, whenever you pick up the paper, you hear folks talking about the port and how important the port is, and you hear folks talking about the Inland Empire and how important the warehouses are. And guess what? Those trucks all have to go up the 710, up the 605. They're coming through the 60 and the 10, and we want consideration paid to that. So I would say that as the highlights that you've noted there are very similar to what I would recommend. La Habra Heights, Rowland Heights, Hacienda Heights, Whittier, et cetera.
Any other questions?
I have one more down here. I'm just curious. We've heard from a lot of individuals kind of from this eastern part of LA County, but those from the communities that have been mentioned in Orange and even Chino Hills. Not that I want you to speak for them, but do you feel like they would be comfortable with some of these proposals as well too?
I do.
They would agree with you in terms of the shared
I think they would
communities
agree
mentioned?
with me. It's a unique area. I've always chided people in Diamond Bar that we don't have a downtown, and actually I correct them and say actually we do. It's in Brea. It's called Birch Street, and the same is true for Chino Hills. There's a lot of blending. You will see a lot of neighbors if you're in Chino Hills, if you're in Walnut, if you're in Brea. So I think that they would agree with that.
Okay. Thank you for taking
Thanks.
the chance to speak for them.
Mr. Tai, one more question. You said that transportation funds you're often shortchanged.
Correct.
How so?
Well, maybe shortchange is the wrong word. We have to fight for every dollar that we get. I think the 5760, in that area of the East San Gabriel Valley, we refer to it as the big fix. We need to correct that transportation error and make it more manageable so that there's a lot less weaving going on. And we work closely with current representation in Congress across several different congressional districts. We work closely with the City of Industry to get the funding that we need to get that problem taken care of.
I see. Thank you.
Thanks.
Number 38.
Chair Barabra, I requested the population numbers to be added up for the cities that's been identified. So when it is available, maybe we can take a minute and look at it.
Yeah, well, I'll let you know as soon as we have it available.
38.
No, but we'll continue with the...
Right.
Number 38, please.
My name is Selma Menard, and I'm from Whittier. And I want to thank you all for serving, because I've been an active in the community for many, many years, and it's so nice to have someone who's not political setting up the lines. Whittier has been divided, and we have 3 assemblymen, 3 congressmen, and only 1 state senator. And we really would like to be together. It really is hard when one city has been divided and the politicians have decided how they're going to divide it up, both Democrats and Republicans. Anyway, we would like to be with Whittier and La Mirada, and we want to keep it within the county line. It would be kind of nice to, I think if you can put the map up, the Whittier, La Mirada, La Habra Heights, Rowan Heights, Hacienda Heights, and Diamond Bar, it all fits into the county. And I thought one of the things that you were doing was trying to keep cities intact and the counties intact. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you very much.
Number 39.
Good evening. My name is Joe Vinatieri, and I'm a member of the City Council of Whittier. Live in Whittier all my life, but I'm speaking to you as a private citizen this evening. Whittier, as you just heard, is a poster child for gerrymander. Where I live, I am in one congressional district. A half block away is another congressional district, and 1.5 blocks away is a third congressional district. They did the same thing 10 years ago on the assembly. So we have 3 assembly districts splitting Whittier. We are one community, and we have one high school district, et cetera, et cetera. And Whittier is actually the city of Whittier and the county area of Whittier, zip codes 90601 through 606. So we'd like to be together so we don't get split up again, but I'm also asking that you not only keep Whittier together, but as you look here at the map, we'd like to also have Santa Fe Springs, La Mirada, and La Habra Heights, which is the corner down in the southeast LA County area. And the thing about that is that we've got so many things in common, same newspaper, high school district, fire department, et cetera, pretty much. But there's one other community of interest, and the fact is that I've heard the numbers. That area that I just gave you is about 200,000. And so in order to build it up, it needs to come a direction. What we have here in front of you is the Chino Hills, Puente Hills Wildlife Corridor, of which many of the communities that I'm talking to you about, as you have just heard, all share in common. And you will see it starts the 605 freeway on the west, goes basically all the way to the 57, and then down the southeast, down towards all the way to Orange County and into the 91 freeway. This is a significant wildlife corridor. We talk about environmental and that's a lot of the hills area and the blank areas that you've seen up here previously. What I wanted to commend to your attention was basically a district that takes in the 605 to the west, the 57 roughly Diamond Bar to the east. Last thing, and I know I'm over time, but in order to do a congressional district, I would encourage you, if you're interested from the environmental and from that standpoint, you take the communities on the north side of the wildlife corridor, you take the communities on the south side, which includes La Habra and Brea. Those are a different county, I understand, but if you're looking at going over county lines, that would be one way I think that you could do it. Interestingly, that area that I'm telling you about now is the same assembly district that existed back in the 70s and the 80s.
Are there any questions?
What is your southern border, the longest line right there on your map?
The southern border is roughly Interstate 5 until you get to the Orange County line, then it goes up there. So it's kind of a rough border.
Sorry, running, I guess, I'm assuming east and west, right across there. What is that right there?
That's the Los Angeles Orange County line.
Okay, that's the county border there.
Yeah.
So Brea is just below that. So you were in, so that's why I was getting confused. You had mentioned Brea verbally, but Brea is not in that line.
That's why I indicated if you're looking at going across county lines and you want to keep a community of interest based upon the hills here, and this is one of the largest unaffected habitat areas in Southern California still, other than the Angeles Mountains, you could do it that way if you want to go across those borders.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your attention.
And did you have a question?
It's not a question. This is just to give you the information for the district or the areas that Speaker 37 was speaking about. The population for those cities is 412,986.
Thank you.
Number 40.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Mulroy, and I'm a longtime resident of the city of Sierra Madre. And I'm here tonight to ask the Commission if you would consider keeping the city that I live in, Sierra Madre, linked with the two other cities of Pasadena and Altadena, because we support each other in many ways, economically, socially, culturally, and I would like to see us remain intact as a district. And I'll give you some examples of why I say this. I have raised my children in the city of Sierra Madre. We've used the libraries in all three cities. I hike on the trails above Pasadena in the Arroyo, above Sierra Madre in the Chantry Flats area, and also above Pasadena in the Mount Lowe area. And the other hikers that I know who live in the accompanying cities, they also do the same thing. My son is a biker. He rides a fixed-gear bike at the Rose Bowl, which is in the city of Pasadena, and all the mountain bikers that I know come up to Sierra Madre every Saturday and patronize our businesses, and they bike up in the trails and also in the streets around Sierra Madre. And let's see, what else did I have here? When I want to shop, I go to the Paseo or I go to Old Town because they have the big department stores. But my friends who live in Sierra Madre who want to find a unique little gift store will come up to Sierra Madre because we have those cute little shops, no big department stores. And the same with the restaurants. And transportation, we share the 210 freeway and the Gold Line. That's it. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Number 41.
Hi, good evening. Kevin Sawkins. I'm a resident here of San Gabriel and also the Vice Mayor. Welcome, and thank you for being here in our beautiful Mission Playhouse. A couple comments. A general comment, just in thinking of when you're redistricting, to consider the representative and the area that they serve, and in practical terms is how they meet with their stakeholders and constituents and attending events, and trying to keep, one of your guiding principles is to keep the districts as compact as possible. I think that's important. And I generally agree with the comments of earlier speaker, Barbara Messina from Alhambra. I don't really have any issues with how our Assembly District 49 is drawn right now. I think it's generally good and it's working. It represents the West San Gabriel Valley quite well. However, our state Senate district, the 21st district, is it isn't drawn to represent the interest so well of the West San Gabriel Valley, and it continues out and goes as far out as Sherman Oaks. So I would agree with Barbara Messina on that as well. We have one state senator here in Alhambra, and the city next door, they have another state senator. It would make sense that we would have the same state senator that serves the West San Gabriel Valley. As to our congressional district, this district could be drawn, I think, much more compact. That district right now, our 29th congressional district, goes out as well into Burbank and Glendale, which is, I don't consider Burbank or Glendale, although they're fine communities, they're not part of the San Gabriel Valley. So I just, to the extent you can, keep the San Gabriel Valley together. If you want to look for definitions as to what the San Gabriel Valley is, you might want to look to San Gabriel Valley Economic Partnership and the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. There may not be any uniform definition on what the San Gabriel Valley constitutes. It's kind of fuzzy around the edges, but I think there's a general consensus out there. So thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Number 42.
Good evening, Councilman. My name is Peter John, J-A-H-N. I live in Whittier, and I'm retired after 50 years, Program Director for Engineering and Construction. I want to reiterate some of the things brought out by speaker number 39, Joe, you just heard him, with the nice map. Basically, let's talk about common interests. Schools. I live in Whittier, but my kids went to La Habra for junior high, for grammar school, and for high school. That's because we had common community interest and merged a lot of the teaching and school district. You've also heard that there is police, where the Whittier police provide police forces for other areas, and there's further discussion of that. It's a strong community and a lot of community interest. In connection with the interface with Whittier and La Habra Heights, we don't have just contingency, we're interlaced. If you take a look at the map, it's really a community that goes together. So I think if you take a look at that map, but you also consider the La Habra that was talked about before, I think you'll find there's a very good solution for common interest. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Number 43.
Good evening. Thank you very much for being here. I have been following the redistricting I've gone into your websites, and I'm very familiar with one organization that has made very, very positive recommendations to the Commission, and that is the Redistrict California, a nonprofit entity that was brought together by the James Irving Foundation. And I believe that they're going to do a very good job in continuing to provide very positive recommendations to this Commission, because they're looking at everyone's interest. And that's what's extremely important to me, that there is somebody out there that is sharing everyone's common cause. But today I have a question. Your primary, to me, duty is to make certain that my constituency rights are being protected. And yet I found that there seems to be one particular area where I have a vote, and yet no one is going to look at how the constituencies are being protected, and those are special districts. Many people don't know about special districts because they seem to go under the radar. But special districts are school districts, water districts, in particular water districts that I'm extremely interested in because of the large budgets that they manage to. Infrastructure to carry water is extremely costly. And so these districts have a very significant importance. But yet, my recommendation is hopefully that in the next census that they create a junior commission that will look at special districts so that we can make certain that our constituency rights are not only protected at the state level, both assembly and state and congressional, and State Board of Equalization, but that they're also looked at much smaller levels where my vote is, to me, extremely important, and that would be with special districts. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 44.
Good evening. I'm a North Orange County resident, and the cities that I feel are of my community of interest are Artesia, Cerritos, La Palma, Buena Park, Fullerton, and Anaheim. All these cities are connected by major freeways. Despite the fact that they are separated by county lines, they should be kept together due to their unique identity as a region. The cities included are closely tied to each other, and LA County both socially and economically. Anaheim is the largest city in the region and serves as the focal point of the area. Many residents of the surrounding communities work in Anaheim due to the abundance of jobs available there. The entertainment and hospitality is the largest in Anaheim, with Disneyland being the main attraction and employer. Honda Center, Angel Stadium are two of the other main attractions in the area, making it a destination for visitors and from across LA and Orange County. Buena Park is home to Knott's Berry Farm and also attracts visitors from LA County and across the area. I just think that you should try and keep those areas together. I think it's pretty much the way it is now. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Number 45.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Evelyn.
Good afternoon. My name is Evelyn,
Soy madre de 3 jóvenes.
and I am the mother of 3 kids.
Vengo del Valle de San Fernando,
I'm coming from San Fernando Valley,
específicamente de la ciudad de Van Nuys.
specifically from the city of Van Nuys.
Y las áreas que me interesan en nuestro vecindario que se puedan quedar dentro de la comunidad.
And with the areas of interest for me to continue within the same community:
Es Panorama City,
Panorama City,
Mission Hills, Arleta, Northridge, Reseda,
and
Lake Balboa
Lake Balboa,
y Valley Glen.
and Valley Glen.
Es muy importante ya que la gente en estas áreas siempre usamos los Freeway 405.
It's very important because the people who live in that area always utilize the Freeway 405,
El 5, el 101,
Freeway 5, Freeway 101,
y el 118
118,
para poder accesar a otras partes del valle.
so we can have access to different parts of the valley.
Y también para el área de Los Ángeles y de todo el condado.
Also for the area of Los Angeles and all of the county.
La gente en estas comunidades estamos juntos siempre. Necesitamos ir a hacer nuestras compras, lo que es en el área de Sherman Oaks.
The people in that area, we're always together and we're always trying to do most of our shopping in the area of Sherman Oaks
Y la ciudad de Northridge.
and also in the city of Northridge.
Y no solamente nuestras compras, también es la única universidad que tenemos
Not only for shopping, but it's also the only university we have
en el área de Northridge.
in the area of Northridge.
Es una de las lugares donde pueden ir mis hijos a estudiar.
It's one of the places where my kids can go to school,
Y también toda la parte de la comunidad de Van Nuys.
and also the whole area of Van Nuys.
También en el parque Lake Balboa es donde podemos disfrutar nuestro tiempo con la familia.
Also, we can spend our time together as a family in Lake Balboa.
Y en los días que está muy caliente, podemos accesar o viajar hacia la playa por el 405.
And on hot days, we can have access to the beach on the 405.
Y de esa manera poder refrescarnos. Es muy importante mantener nuestras comunidades juntas.
And we can find some fresh air that way, and in that way we can remain. We can keep the communities together.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
Yes, we have a
Una
question.
pregunta, tiene una pregunta.
Are those communities together now?
¿Están esas comunidades juntas ahora? Yes.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you very much.
Number 46.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Mi nombre es Julissa.
My name is
Yo
Julissa.
tengo un niño de 5 años.
I have a 5-year-old son,
Y bueno, yo la verdad que vengo de la comunidad de Boyle Heights
and I'm coming from the Boyle Heights community.
y me gustaría que mantuvieran Boyle Heights, el área de Chinatown y el distrito de arte juntas.
And I would like to request for Boyle Heights area, Chinatown, and Art District to remain together,
Ya que estas áreas han sido beneficiadas en el aspecto por la línea oro de Coal Line.
because these areas have been benefited by the Coven Line,
La cual nos ha ayudado a viajar en nuestros mismos vecindarios, incluso podemos visitar restaurantes, el servicio de servicios locales.
because in that manner we've been able to move around the neighborhood, going to restaurants in different areas.
La mayoría de clase trabajadoras nos hemos beneficiado en rentas accesibles para nuestra comunidad.
The working class has also have found a benefit in being able to afford the housing.
Esto nos ha proveído una gran oportunidad en poder vivir cerca del corazón del centro de Los Ángeles y poder convivir más, tener más oportunidades de empleo a sí mismo.
And this has allowed for us to live closer to the core of downtown LA, which allows us also to find a more employment access.
Incluso nos permite disfrutar de los eventos culturales del centro, por ejemplo, asistir a teatros, museos, que nos ayudan mucho en la educación de nuestros niños.
Which is also has given us access to the cultural aspect of it, having theaters, having museums available to us for our kids to learn.
So, en mi conclusión, yo lo único que requiero es que estas áreas se mantengan juntas, ya que pueden hacer, pues no es a una área que nos beneficia a todos como vecindades.
And itself, all I need to ask is for these areas to remain together so that we all can find a benefit out of all these.
Thank you.
Any questions?
¿Alguna pregunta?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Number 47.
For the last 32 years, I've been a professor at Cal Poly Pomona in the Department of Ethnic and Women's Studies. Also, I've been very active in redistricting. I was an active participant in the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s redistricting struggles here in California. As a member of Cal Poly for almost over 3 decades, I have come to know Cal Poly pretty well. And it's my opinion that in looking at redistricting, that you consider Pomona ensuring more common interest with Ontario, Montclair, Chino, more to the east than to the north and to the west and even to the south. I never thought there was a benefit of being number 47, but the benefit is that 46 other people have reaffirmed what I just said. Every person that talked about a foothill district always stops, if you notice and go back, stops exactly at San Dimas or Laverne or Claremont on the border of Pomona. They never go into Pomona. When everyone spoke about the district in San Gabriel, they always stop in West Covina. They never go past Pomona. And when they were talking in terms of the bottom of Chino Hills and Diamond Bar and Walnut, they always stop at the bottom at the border of Pomona. You notice that. In fact, I only heard Pomona once this evening. You asked one of the speakers in the foothill as to what it would be like to, what community should be included if you couldn't fill the population. And he looked at the map, he says, well, there's a little bit of Pasadena, maybe Pomona. It was as if it was a throwaway. It was like a second thought, and that is really the concerns of the people of Pomona. Pomona shares much in common with the cities such as Chino, Montclair, and Ontario, including medical facilities, educational institutions, shopping centers, and local businesses, youth sports associations, and nonprofit organizations. Thank you.
Are there any questions? I have a feeling you have a very interesting class wherever you teach.
Number 48. Number 48.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Alan Wilson. I live in the city of Diamond Bar, and we have such a significant regional issue in Diamond Bar and San Gabriel Valley as a whole. If you would take a look at Assembly District 58 and 60, 58 and 60 is so unique, it's been broken up. For example, Assembly District 58, you have split up in the city of Whittier and into 3 assembly districts. I live in Assembly District 60, which includes Walnut, Diamond Bar, Rowland Heights, La Habra Heights, and it goes to Chino Hills and in Orange County. My concern is in terms of regional issue for the San Gabriel Valley. The San Gabriel Valley is home to 2 million residents, and we have significant challenges in the community. And if you take San Gabriel Valley as a whole, we are considered the 34th largest economy in the world. And we need representation in the state Senate and the state Assembly of Congress to speak our voice. If you, for example, in the north part of the San Gabriel Valley, you have Assembly District 44 and 59. The classic case is the city of Arcadia. Arcadia is split up in 2 assembly districts. South of the 210 freeway is Assembly District 44, and the north of the 210 freeway in the city of Arcadia is Assembly District 59. My point is that we need to keep the region of San Gabriel Valley as a whole so that we can have representation to hear our voices on education, transportation, traffic congestion, and other issues that face our communities. And I thank you for listening to our concern, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Number 49.
Number 49, Douglas Farr from La Crescenta. I appreciate the work the Commission is doing. I appreciate the opportunity to present my plan before the Commission. And you have a lot of numbers to keep track of. I live, as I said, I live in La Crescenta, and I'm proposing in the for the Assembly seat to have the cities of La Crescenta, La Cañada, Pasadena, Glendale, and Pasadena west of the Rosemead. Okay, that's the proposal. Continuous continuous piece of real estate which has common grounds politically, ethnic mix, political mix, and then I'd like to add in for the rest of the San Gabriel Valley. I'd like to add in South Pass, San Marino, San Gabriel, Alhambra, Sierra Madre, Temple City, Rosemead, north of Mission for the congressional seat, and we'll add in Arcadia, Monrovia, Almonte, north of Garvey, which makes up our 931,000 for our state senate. On this board here, my current assembly seat is 110 miles from Acton to Apple Valley. My congressional district is broken up into 3 different sections. The 26th congressional Dreyer, and my Senate seat, 29 Senate. I live in La Crescenta. I'm way over here in the corner on this pink congressional district. Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Questions? We need. Are you going to take those with you, or could you leave?
I'll be delighted to leave it, sir.
Okay, if you would leave them, then we'd have.
Could I ask a quick question, just because this gentleman is here? I'm on this end.
Yes.
Just because I've seen this a couple times with speakers, Altadena seems to be left out of these proposals.
Well, I put numbers together from the census, the 2010 census, and I wanted to keep Pasadena together.
Okay. I just didn't know if I've seen this a couple times with Altadena not being included with this group, so I'm just curious.
Right, that was my assembly seat, and again, I wanted to keep the cities together, and I wanted to keep the composition together, as compact as possible.
And I see hands in the audience, so if there's a speaker that's coming up that'd like to answer that question, that'd be great.
When your turn comes, if you would, please.
That'd be great.
Well, ma'am, if we get your answer recorded, if you come up to the microphone, please.
No, I did not exclude Altadena because of any ethnic makeup. I wanted to keep the numbers together for the 6 different sizes of the districts. But I picked up Altadena for the congressional and for the Senate seat. Okay, thank you.
Number 50.
I'm Russ McSam, resident of City of El Monte, and I've lived in the San Gabriel Valley for 85 years. I moved here from the Whittier area when I was 4 years old. But I wanted to point out on the map there, you could get El Monte and South El Monte up there, that the 2 communities, El Monte and South El Monte, are really one in every way except that they have 2 different city governments. The 2 should not be separated under any of the proposals, and I've heard a couple tonight that have proposed putting in El Monte in one congressional district and South El Monte in another. They should always be in the same districts. We do things together in geography, in schools, in education, and socially. We are served by the same organizations and community groups, and the 2 should not be separated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Number 51.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Danielle Soto. I'm a council member for the City of Pomona. I am speaking as an individual this evening. The community of interest I want to speak in regards to is the City of Pomona, Montclair, Chino, and Ontario. I think Pomona is an example of where county lines need to not be respected, because the City of Pomona, all our living is done in the cities of Montclair and Ontario. We do not cross Kellogg Hill into the West Covina area on the usual basis unless we're coming to LA. And, you know, we do our shopping in the Montclair Mall Plaza. We do our shopping in the Ontario Mills. We go to our kids play a lot of sports with the Chino areas. Our newspaper is based in Ontario, and the stories they run, of course, are in common interest for the area. And it would be obviously disruptive if our representatives that they're analyzing and investigating are not the same. And I just would ask that, you know, you would take that into consideration, that not, you know, for these cities that are on the borderline, just because they're in certain counties doesn't mean that the communities of interest always go in the same respect. Thank you.
If you could hold on for 1 second. I did ask the consultants just to put up the numbers and get the population numbers. I'm not quite, unless you have a sense yourself, but they're going to pull up the
I
numbers for
don't
those
know all the
four.
population levels. I just know that Pomona is the 5th largest city in LA County. We have about 165,000, but that's from the census of a previous census, not the new one that's coming out.
The reason I'm asking, hopefully that'll come up in a moment, but I'm trying to get a sense of, and we've gotten some testimony where you're not included in some of the districts, but again, if it's less than, say, at least an assembly district, we have to combine you with some other places. So to get a sense of where else you might want to hook up with, we want to get that as much as possible.
I did say the city of Ontario. I don't see it highlighted. And then maybe the city of Claremont as well, although Claremont might feel differently. Yeah. Does that help?
Yeah, and you don't need to say it. We're going to try to get a sense of the numbers.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 52.
Commissioner, we have a number.
Okay.
So for the option without Claremont, it's with Ontario. So with Ontario, but without Claremont, it's 427,629, including Claremont at 462,555.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I, Commissioner Glambos-Malloy down here on your left. May I ask a question of Ms. Henderson, please? On the regional profiles that we have, there have been some cities referenced here this evening that don't appear on the profiles. Roland Heights, I believe, was one. Altadena. Is there a certain size threshold that cities need to reach to be on these, or are these exhaustive?
What you have is only for incorporated areas. So some of the places that are being discussed today are not incorporated.
Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Erica Ambrose, and I'm here as a parent raising 2 kids in the city of Montclair. And I'm here to share with you my experience as not only a parent, but also as a volunteer for Ontario Region 66. It's a soccer league and serves over 1,000 kids. My daughter and my son both played for the region. Also, my son plays Pop Warner Football Ontario. And I can share with you that serving as a volunteer coordinator, I was able to see and can personally testify that we had players from Pomona, Montclair, Ontario, and Chino playing in the same region, engaging together, parents within the same social circles, traveling, shopping, dining within the same area, traveling from Pomona, dining in Montclair, playing in Chino. Pop Warner Football serves kids from Pomona, Chino, Montclair, Ontario, and they play in Chino. It's Ontario Pop Warner, but we're having kids feed in from all these cities. So there's a definite bond there that is, I feel it's very important to keep that bond between those cities and those families, because not only do their kids share common interests, but so do the parents as well. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Number 53.
Okay, this may be the only Boy Scout uniform you see tonight. Usually I like to start by saying, okay, how many of you are Scouts? My name is Rolla Hall Lindsay. I live in the city of La Cañada Flintridge, but I am president of the Verdugo Hills Council of the Boy Scouts of America. And so I spend a lot of time with kids, and because the BSA has been drawing council and district lines for 100 years, I thought maybe we could chat a little bit. We look entirely at communities of interest, but scouting is around schools and communities, not so much around businesses, but about neighborhoods. And so in the handouts, there's a map of 2 Boy Scout councils. Tonight you are in the middle of the San Gabriel Valley Council, which is basically La Cañada and East. I am president of the Verdugo Hills Council, and I have heard Glendale and Burbank mentioned a couple of times tonight. But the way we also have to deal with other issues as you do. For example, in our council, we have the young people from 2 different LDS stakes. And the other group that we have to work with and enjoy working with, that I haven't heard mentioned at all is the Hominet Men, which is the Armenian Youth and Scouting Organization. And we have those chapters within Verdugo Hills Council. So I hope it's helpful. You have a map. Call us if there's anything that you need. If we can help you in any way, I do have a magnet that says, "Stop me if I'm asked to volunteer again." But I do want to tell you all, off the script, you are blessed for doing this job, and I hope you know how much you are appreciated.
Thank you very much. And for the quality of your map, we might think of you as an Eagle Scout.
Number 54.
Yes, good evening. David Savansky from South Pasadena. And I'm going to assert that South Pasadena, and Altadena, which is an unincorporated area, do share a very strong historic, geographic, transportation interest. Pasadena was incorporated in 1886, South Pasadena 1888. The people who settled in the three communities I mentioned, Pasadena, South Pasadena, and Altadena, all came about the same time in the late 1880s, and for various reasons they have different boundary lines. The Arroyo Seco, which means dry gulch in Spanish, which is the stream that flows out of the San Gabriel Mountains, flows from north to south through all three of these communities. There are transportation corridors north-south. Fair Oaks Avenue goes north-south through South Pasadena up into Pasadena and Altadena. Farther east we have Los Robos going north-south, and farther east from that we have Lake Avenue going north-south. Now, I want to comment on a proposal to have like a foothill district from east to west along the foothills. And that brings up something that I don't think anybody's discussed so far. I would like to see districts composed that are competitive. What I mean competitive is politically competitive. Now, any district that includes the whole of the foothill from east to west is a Republican district by far. It is now, and it would be in the future. I would not like to see such a district. I would like to see districts go north-south, following the roads, following the rivers, farther to the east, the San Gabriel River and the freeway up into the San Gabriel Mountains through the San Gabriel Valley, farther east from there in Claremont going up through the valley. So that you would essentially have, in that area, perhaps 3 districts that would be going north-south that would include people from the southern cities that also utilize the mountains. I would also say there's a very strong economic interest of Pasadena, Burbank, and Glendale. And next door, by the way, sits La Canada Flint Ridge. Possibly you might have to go to the east to Sierra Madre, but in essence, the core should be South Pasadena, and Altadena. Thank you very much.
Sir, before you go, you should be apprised that this commission has been directed not to deal with creating of competitive districts and not considering any of the partisan characteristics of the districts.
I was wondering about that because certainly the last redistricting 10 years ago resulted in heavily partisan districts, resulting in many of us, including myself, not bothering to go to the polls half the time because what was the point of it?
And we have another question for you, sir.
Question for you, sir. I noticed that in your laying out of your scenario geographically, you did not include the city of Alhambra. What do you think about being included with the city of Alhambra? What do you think about Alhambra?
Well, that's a possibility. I would say if you know the history of this area, the city of South Pasadena and Alhambra do not share a common interest in any way, shape, or form.
That was confirmed at last night's hearing.
The residents of South Pasadena generally look northward for commercial purposes, for the hospital, for trade, for residence, and so on. And Alhambra is much better matched with Monterey Park, San Gabriel, Rosemead, and cities like that in the central part of the valley. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 55.
Good evening. I'm Leslie. Having lived in the same apartment in West Hollywood for 34 years, I really do appreciate your task of assigning space harmoniously. The 2 cities that I'd like to talk about are West Hollywood and Beverly Hills, and I'd like to see them be together. We do share an actual common border, north-south, and going east and west, we share the same freeways and the same major cross streets, and that means also the same major traffic problems, and we fight for the same parking spaces. Both communities have their own city governments, so we have very aware and very active participants in local government, and we do have redress for our own local issues, and I think that makes for very positive awareness. Economically, we are both fairly affluent communities, West Hollywood being middle class to affluent, and Beverly Hills, of course, being affluent, and the adult of the minor. We share also a tremendous common economic grounding in the entertainment industries, both the movie, television, the performing arts, the visual arts, the live arts, and music, and tourism. We also both have embraced immigrants, the Russian Jewish immigrants in West Hollywood, the Iranian Jewish immigrants in Beverly Hills, and we have a huge community of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people who have come to West Hollywood and Beverly Hills to live openly in their lifestyle and enjoy it. And so we also share the restaurant industry, the hotel industry, and small businesses. We have a lot of small business, retail particularly, that run the gamut from small, local exporting businesses and importing businesses to high-end boutiques. So we have a bustling commonality.
Thank you. Any questions?
So, question: If the combined population is smaller than a district, would you tend to want to move more towards the west, Bel Air, Westwood, or how would you look at going eastward toward Hollywood?
Well, I think because we are the gateway to the West End, going west would be a very good idea.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 56.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Kent Yan, the President of Los Angeles and Tianjin Friendship Association. We have approximately 5,000 members located in Chino Hills, Roland Heights, Walnut, Diamond Bar, Fullerton, Brea, and so on. We meet every month to discuss our concerns and to perform activities to help each other and our community. As Asian Americans, we are all concerned how the new political district is redrawn. Are they taking into consideration of our Asian Americans' rights and interests? Since there are so many Asian Americans live and work in the East and Western Gabriel Valley area, so our voice to the Citizens Redistricting Commission is keep the 60 Assembly District together the way it is. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes, there's a question for you, sir.
I'll ask the similar question I asked previously. You have enough number for approximately a assembly district. If you were looking for a bigger district like a state senate district or a congressional district, what other cities would you be interested in combining with? Any thoughts on that?
Since I'm talking from the side of the Chinese American side, so I think pretty much we have a lot of people in those cities that I just talked about. And at this point, we're very happy with the way it is, and we have been getting a lot of support.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Number 57.
Wait, give this to someone or just hang on to it? Just hang on to it. Good evening. I am Eugene Lee, and I am the Voting Rights Project Director at the Asian Pacific American Legal Center, or APALC. As you know, APALC is the statewide anchor for a coalition called the Coalition of Asian Pacific Americans for Fair Redistricting, or CAPRFR. Since last year, CAPRFR has been working to provide education about redistricting. At the Commission's regional hearings, including tonight, members of the public who received education about redistricting from CAPRFR will be testifying about their communities of interest. This is different from the Commission's hearing on May 26th, where CAPRFR will present a mapping proposal. Today, several individuals will testify about two communities of interest. The first is located in the West San Gabriel Valley. It is made up of Alhambra, Monterey Park, Rosemead, San Gabriel, Arcadia, San Marino, and Temple City. The second community of interest is located in the East San Gabriel Valley. It is made up of Hacienda Heights, Roland Heights, Walnut, and Diamond Bar. Both of these communities of interest have significant Asian American populations, and many of the residents in these communities are immigrants. Also, each community has shared socioeconomic needs and interests with respect to language access and education. Each community should be kept intact and not divided. Lastly, I want to call the Commission's attention to the fact that it may be possible to draw an Asian American Voting Rights Act district centered in the West San Gabriel Valley. If you look at the attached map to the handout I've given you, you will see a swath of areas where, in the West Valley, where Asian Americans make up over half of citizens' voting age population. The Commission should take note not only of the community of interest in the West Valley cities I mentioned, but also that the Asian American population in these cities, along with adjacent areas, could constitute a majority of an Assembly District's citizen voting age population. Thank you.
Any questions for Eugene?
So, good evening. And you may be presenting this on the 26th, so don't worry if you don't have it this evening, but to the extent that you might be asserting a potential voting rights act district, do you have or will you be presenting any evidence or anything you've got related to polarized voting?
That's an excellent question. We are looking into that. We believe there is polarized voting in this area, but we need to look into that. And additionally, we would ask that the Commission also look into this. We are flagging this area as a potential Section 2 area, and one of the areas that the Commission should conduct a polarized voting analysis for.
Peter.
Mr. Lee, it's the same question I asked the previous speaker. For the East San Gabriel Valley cities, beyond the Assembly District, do you have any idea as to what other areas you want to be combined with to make it into a Senate and a congressional district?
That's a great question. Our process so far has been helping community members identify and articulate their communities of interest, discrete areas which fall short of various districts. We are now in the process of getting feedback from them on what areas should be added to these core communities of interest to make up entire districts at the larger levels. Additionally, I would also note that we believe very strongly that this redistricting process should be one full of dialogue among various communities, and so CAPFR has a very strong commitment to working with Latino and African American communities, and we want to go through a vetting process to make sure that everyone's interests are well respected, and that's one of the reasons we're waiting until May 26th to present a proposal. We want to give ourselves enough time to have a good vetting process with other stakeholders.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Lee, are there any Section 203 language issues in this area, or do you know about that in terms of voting?
Yes. My organization, the Asian Pacific American Legal Center, has done a lot of Election Day poll monitoring to assess whether poll workers are providing bilingual oral assistance and also translated voting materials to voters in compliance with Section 203 of the Voting Rights Act, both in the West Valley and in the East Valley. I would say that the county registrar does a commendable effort of training poll workers, but when it comes down to it, poll site administration is a matter of human error, and we have seen some deficiencies in the way that poll sites have provided language assistance to voters. The Department of Justice has also brought enforcement action against jurisdictions in Los Angeles County, including the city of Walnut.
Thank you.
Mr. Lee, thank you very much, and thank you for your continued work in spreading the word about the. Oh, excuse me.
Mr. Lee, it sounds like your group or yourself have studied this area a lot. Is there any feelings that there is some cracking or packing patterns here?
In the East Valley, there are some areas in the community of interest that I described that are not contained within whole districts. For example, the area of Hacienda Heights is not together with Roland Heights or Walnut or Diamond Bar. In the West Valley, the city of Arcadia is a city that I mentioned as being included in the West Valley Community of Interest, and that is not in the same assembly district as other cities. And so we think that the Commission should strive to keep these communities of interest together to preserve and protect the voice of minority communities in this area.
Again, and thank you very much for all the work you've done in really spreading the word about the importance of being prepared for these meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 58.
Good evening. My name is Janet Chin, and I'm the president of the Garvey School Board. I live in Rosemead and have been a resident of the San Gabriel Valley for over about 37 years. I'm a U.S. Army veteran and involved in many community organizations in the area. The West San Gabriel Valley has seen continuing growth in the Asian American Pacific Islander community dating back to the 1970s, when Monterey Park outlawed restrictive covenants barring property sales to non-whites, encouraging APIs to move here. This was followed by an influx of Asian American immigrants during the 1980s and 1990s who moved to Monterey Park and surrounding areas such as Alhambra, Rosemead, San Gabriel, and now Arcadia, San Marino, and Temple City. The West San Gabriel Valley continues to be a gateway for new immigrants. Now, residents of this area have a shared need for language access. Many residents in this area have limited English-speaking ability. These language needs are clearly highlighted by a bait-and-switch scheme that was carried out in 2000 and 2001, in which Alhambra car dealership defrauded Chinese-American consumers with limited English ability. The dealership used Mandarin-speaking salespeople to negotiate car contracts with the consumers, but then gave those consumers written contracts that were less desirable with financing and warranty terms. This incident led to the legislature's passage of AB 309 in 2003, which requires businesses to provide certain types of written consumer contracts in the language and contracts which they were negotiated in. Residents of this area were fortunate to be included in an assembly district that encompasses several of the West San Gabriel Valley cities, producing an assembly member who responded to their needs by authoring AB 309. The residents of the cities are also tied together by common educational interests. As a school board member, I'm intimately familiar with the needs of the many independent school districts in the San Gabriel Valley. And students in this area have similar educational needs indicated by their common levels of educational attainment. Now, I think the main thing is that the policy interests of the residents of this community of interest on issues of education, immigration, and language access, as well as other issues, would be best served if the community was kept intact within the same Assembly, Senate, and congressional districts. And I thank you for your time, and I urge you to preserve this community of interest made up of the cities of Alhambra, Monterey Park, Rosemead, San Gabriel, and also to include Arcadia, Temple City, and San Marino. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Number 59.
My name is Natasha Khanna, and I graduated from Gabrielino High School in San Gabriel. And I will be reading the testimony of Jade Chen, who could not be here tonight. I am Jade Chen, the president of the Hacienda La Puente Unified School District, the largest school district in the San Gabriel Valley. I have lived in Hacienda Heights for over 20 years and am a graduate of schools in the area. I serve on the board of the San Gabriel Valley YMCA and am a direct commission officer in the United States Naval Reserve. I request that you keep Hacienda Heights, Roland Heights, Walnut, and Diamond Bar together. The residents of these areas have similar educational interests. Roland and Hacienda La Puente have API scores of 790 points, while Walnut has an API of 890 points, placing all three districts firmly in the high-achieving group. The student bodies are similar, with many hailing from a Chinese, Korean, or Latino background, all with very significant English language learner populations. Additionally, Asian American and Pacific Islander, AAPI, in this area have a clear need for fair representation. On various issues, the preferences of the AAPI community in this area have faced opposition tied to their common immigrant background and the misperception of AAPIs as outsiders. In the mid-1980s, protests erupted over the building of a Taiwanese Buddhist temple in the hills of Hacienda Heights. A visit from Al Gore to the temple in 1996 prompted investigations of political donors with Asian-sounding names, casting a pall over Asian American political participation. Efforts to achieve cityhood for Hacienda Heights have been defeated at the ballot box, with the latest in 2003 over fears of Asian American candidates dominating the new city council. Efforts to bring a Chinese language program to Cedar Line Middle School have been met with howls of protest from residents who claim that the program promotes communism and is favoritist towards Chinese, even though nearly all the students are Latino.
If you would make sure you give us the rest of the document, which we have, we'll make sure that it's recorded in the report.
Yeah, the document is a lot more detailed.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Number 60.
Hello. My name is Brian Lee Guzman, and I will be reading the testimony of Howard Wang. My name is Howard Wang. I am the Associate Vice President for Student Affairs at Cal State Fullerton. I have lived in the San Gabriel Valley for over 16 years, 10 years in El Monte, and almost 6 years in Walnut. I am the member of the Organization for Chinese Americans. I have received education about redistricting from the Coalition of Asian Pacific Americans for Fair Redistricting, CAPAFR. I support the importance of keeping communities of interest and neighborhoods whole. I support the broader principles that have been articulated by other members of CAPAFR throughout the state and in this hearing. Please respect our community's desire for fair representation. Please do not dilute our votes, and please do not arbitrarily divide our neighborhoods and communities. There is a community of interest in the East San Gabriel Valley, centered around cities and census-designated places of Hacienda Heights, Roland Heights, Diamond Bar, and Walnut. The residents of this area are tied together by common interests in education, language access, immigrant background, and commercial interests. The areas along the 60 freeway, sandwiched by Colima Road and Valley Boulevard, represent an important economic corridor and commercial thoroughfare for the San Gabriel Valley. Business development in this area shares common commercial interests and issues. Most of the businesses are small, family-oriented, family-operated stores that carry products and services that cater to a number of Asian ethnic groups such as Filipinos, Koreans, Chinese, and Vietnamese. Even several of the large businesses, such as banks with Asian names and grocery chain stores, also cater to a large number of Asian communities across the number of cities mentioned above. The policy interests of residents in this community of interest on issues of education, immigration, and language access would be well served if it was kept intact with the same districts. Thank you.
Thank you, and the whole letter will be recorded. Thank you.
Number 61.
Referring to the tables that are included in the testimony, so I'll wait for that to get to you. Okay, my name is Danny Chinose, and I direct the Demographic Research Project at the Asian Pacific American Legal Center here in Los Angeles. I'm here to present data supporting the testimony of stakeholders you've heard from tonight, and about two communities of interest in the San Gabriel Valley. So Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders are a major part of San Gabriel Valley's demographic landscape. The tables are going around now. Table San Gabriel Valley 1 shows the size and concentration of Asian American Pacific Islander population in 11 major cities in West and East San Gabriel Valley. Over 1/3 of Asian Americans in Los Angeles County live here in the San Gabriel Valley. According to the 2010 census, the region is home to over 505,000 Asian Americans and 6,800 Pacific Islanders. Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders make up a majority of several cities and unincorporated communities in the region, including Monterey Park, Arcadia, Alhambra, Rosemead, San Gabriel, San Marino, and Temple City to the west, and Diamond Bar, Roland Heights, and Walnut to the east. On the second page of my testimony, table San Gabriel Valley 2 draws on recently released data from the University of California, Berkeley's statewide database and shows the percent of the citizen voting age population in 7 West San Gabriel Valley cities that is Asian American. Now, drawn together with adjacent areas, these West San Gabriel Valley cities make up the core of a California State Assembly seat in which more than 50% of the district's citizen voting age population is Asian American. As you know, meeting this 50% threshold is required if a district is to be protected under Section 2 of the Federal Voting Rights Act. For cities in both West and East San Gabriel Valley, table San Gabriel Valley 3 shows the percent of population that is foreign-born, percent of population that is limited English proficient, and the median academic performance index scores for schools there. Shared characteristics such as these establish 2 distinct communities of interest in the San Gabriel Valley, one in the west, one in the east. These 2 communities of interest cannot be drawn together, but neither should be divided in the redistricting process. So to summarize, CAP prefer LA, San Gabriel Valley, ask the Commission to 1, recognize and respect the integrity of 2 distinct communities of interest in the San Gabriel Valley, and 2, consider voting rights interests of Asian Americans in the West San Gabriel Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, sir?
Sure.
As I think you know, since you've been working on this and your organization's been doing a great job on this, for one of the issues to deal with Section 2 is political cohesiveness.
Right.
And I'm just curious, all the Pacific Islanders are treated differently in your analysis, but all the other Asian American groups are together as Asian Americans, Koreans, Chinese American,
Sure.
So what is the political cohesiveness of that entire group in terms of their voting patterns?
We're in the process. We've established sort of this first prong of jingles through this analysis using the data that was just released by the statewide database. We're in the process of looking into conducting that polarized voting analysis. And as my colleague Eugene Lee had mentioned, we encourage the Commission to do the same, particularly for the West San Gabriel Valley. So we're in the process of conducting that same analysis, and we'll have something for you at a later date.
Thank you.
Okay. So I know that you've provided citizen voting age population, but will you be providing voting age population figures?
We certainly can.
In the statewide map.
We certainly can.
I think we have, at this point, have draft guidelines that have been posted. So we are hoping to get numbers for both of those because of problems that may have arisen because of CVAP.
Yeah, we certainly have those, and we can provide them at a later date. We wanted to provide the CVAP numbers since we had just run them, but we'll certainly be able to provide the CVAP numbers.
The other question I have is a number of Chinese American, Korean American, other Asian American organizational representatives earlier had talked about, for the East San Gabriel, about similar, these were these 4 that you've identified, but they also identified a larger geographic area, including Chino Hills, Brea, City of Industry. And again, you don't have to take the same position, obviously, but are you looking at those sorts of
I think
as well?
As the Commission is probably aware, there are also Latino voting rights interests that are actually on between these 2 areas and on either side of these 2 areas. So we are working closely with folks in Latino and African American communities to make sure that we can submit a proposal that works for everyone. I think at this point, it would be premature to suggest concretely specific areas that we would bring in to this 4 core cities in the East San Gabriel Valley. But again, we want to be sure that something that works for other communities, particularly since drawing those voting rights seats will be can be required.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 62. Number 63.
$64?
Thank you.
We can have 65, 66, 67 start moving up towards the front of the room. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Arturo Jimenez. And
Excuse me, sir, before you begin, what number are you?
64.
Thank you very much.
So my name is Arturo Jimenez, and I live in Pomona. Lived there for 32 years. I run a vocational college in the area, and worked very hard to establish the current grouping for the assembly districts and the Senate district and the congressional district. Unfortunately, a lot of the neighborhoods around Pomona, Diamond Bar, Walnut, San Dimas, Claremont, and Laverne, have nothing in common with Pomona, given because of not just because of the ethnic demographics, but also because of the economic demographics. As a result, one of the things that you're going to notice that in Pomona, half of Diamond Bar is part of Pomona as far as the Pomona Unified School District. Pomona Unified School District has gone as far as to put together a school up in Diamond Bar called Pantera, and it's been very difficult to populate it with students because Walnut and Laverne, they run ads in the newspaper saying, bring your kids over here. And unfortunately, that's been very difficult, being that Pomona is 70% Latino, and the Pomona Unified School District is about 80% Latino. So there's the issues of the economics and ethnicity they're layered over each other. In my community, from my friends, we've been talking about it. We'd like to see Montclair, Chino, and Ontario continue to stay together. Pomona is the stepchild of LA County because of the topography. There's these big hills that run on the other side. So we really, the Inland Empire don't really think of us as part of them, and the LA County doesn't really think of us as part of them because we're always forgotten. About 15 years ago, Pomona was gerrymandered in such a way, before that for 15 years, where we had like 3 assembly districts, through 2 or 3 senatorial districts, 2 congressional districts, and the city of Pomona had to languish because the Latino, since 77, the city went majority Latino. As a result, there's been a lot of issues in the city that has been taking decades now to try to overcome. One of the things that has happened in Pomona, we have a large number of homelessness. We have a large we have a very young population, and if you go and if you look at other communities, Claremont, for example, is known as the most educated community in the state of California, given the number of master's degrees that exist there. In Pomona, 4 years ago, in 2004, 1,200 high school graduates came out of the 4 high schools, and unfortunately, only 80 met the minimum requirement to go into a state school. For that reason, we urge you to continue and think about Pomona as being part of looking east, not looking west.
Any questions? Thank you very much, sir. You had a question. Excuse me.
Do you find that many of the attendees of your school come primarily from the east and San Bernardino County?
Well, Pomona, it's 152,000 people. We have about 27,000 children that attend the school district. And I don't want to belabor the point that we tend to shop in Montclair and so on, and we shop in Ontario and all that. So that's where the cohesiveness goes. And if you look at the Voting Rights Act, and if you want to adhere to those issues, it's going to be easier to go that way.
Well, I was talking about your vocational school.
Oh, my vocational school?
Do you pull from just primarily Pomona, or if you have outside residents, do you pull from
all over.
Los Angeles or San Bernardino County?
Well, my school is located in Pomona because I live there, but mostly because of cheap rent, and the students like to pay less in tuition. Thus, a lot of students tend to go to my school and from other areas from all over.
Mm-hmm. So, and just one more question. Well, I have one more question, maybe others. So we looked at the numbers earlier, and the configuration that you've discussed and others have discussed comes close to an assembly district.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had to look at a Senate district or a congressional district, given what you said about lack of commonalities
Mm-hmm.
between Pomona and the other areas with others nearby, which way do you think might be preferable to go if you had to look at a larger district?
Look east. Look to Fontana. Look to Rialto. Look to Colton. Going in that direction. It's because that's where the commonality. That's where the immigrant community, Latino immigrant community, is coming to settle in.
So but not so much Rancho Cucamonga,
No,
Upland?
no,
Okay.
because it's more affluent. You also have to layer it with the issue of people being working class versus a more professional class. And there's I mean, a lot of my neighbors don't shop at some of these nicer areas because, unfortunately, our area is engulfed in a culture war, and Latinos are being attacked. Let me put it this way: they're blamed. Global warming is blamed. Latinos are blamed for global warming, in the front page of the Inland Valley newspaper. So that's how difficult it's been. So the commonality again you would want to go in that direction as you have it in the map.
So you're looking at the area, if you were to elongate it, as far as your boundaries, south of the 710 and north of like the 60, going along that way from...
You mean the 210?
From Pomona, if you were to go stretch it out further to the east to Rialto and Fontana. Kind of that mid area there, not going further north above 210 and not further south than like the 60.
Yes,
Is that right?
That looks very good. Okay. And it tends that the community would be, that's where you would be, if you're looking at the Voting Rights Act and how you would want to find some commonality between the economic and the ethnicities. That would be one way.
Any other questions? Sir, thank you very, very much.
And thank you very much for volunteering and doing what you're doing.
Number 65.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Bill Rue, Council Member from the City of Montclair, California. I've been on the City Council in Montclair since 1998. I am a lifetime resident of the City of Montclair. Although Montclair is contained within San Bernardino County, we have, in more than 50 years of existence as a community, shared legislative districts with Los Angeles County. We have wonderful representation. We're very happy with that representation. Understanding that, I hope you will look at not keeping the county lines sacrosanct, but understanding the commonalities of interest, the spheres of influence that tend to run with our communities. Many of our residents in Montclair go west, not east. Our community has been a beneficiary of Los Angeles County in working together for more than 50 years and created a commonality of interest and communities that work together. As such, we are the terminus for the Gold Line light rail system that will run from the San Gabriel Valley into Montclair. We have the second largest transit center on the Metrolink line, and it includes terminuses for Foothill Transit and MTA, which go into LA County, as well as Omnitrans that goes into San Bernardino County. If I were to look at creating a district, I would include Montclair, Pomona, Claremont, and Upland. You'd have over 300,000 people and a good jumping off point. These tend to be, with the exception of Pomona, which is larger, smaller suburban communities. We share a commonality of interest with Pomona and the fact that our transportation networks run through there. We also have economic interests in there, schools as well as hospitals. Our concern in Montclair is that if we're contained solely and wholly within San Bernardino County, we will be subsumed with the larger cities around us that have far more political clout. When you look at the cities that surround Montclair, even looking at Chino Hills, Chino, Ontario, Rancho Cucamonga, and Fontana, they are large populations. They're economically very, very large, and our interests would be lost. Regionally, we rely on working with our neighbors in Claremont, Pomona, and even Laverne, as well as our neighbor to the north in San Bernardino County in Upland, to get a lot of the things done that we need. Our residents have always, for more than 50 years, been contained together with our friends in LA County. That's where our families go to school. That's where we shop. That's where we recreate. That's where we get along. And I hope that you can look at that and understand that these county lines were done many years ago before the current lines existed. In fact, in the city of Montclair, we have a resident where one portion of their property is LA County, the other portion is San Bernardino County. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Number 65. Number 66. Number 67? 68? $69? 70?
Good evening. My name is Joe Hopkins. I am publisher of the Pasadena San Gabriel Valley Journal, the only African-American newspaper in the San Gabriel Valley. I'm also a practicing attorney, and I'm here because the African-American community voice is really not represented here at all. I've heard them mentioned slightly in collaboration with some of the Asian speakers, which is a whole nother issue, which I'll come back to in a moment. I have a few things to say. Within the San Gabriel Valley, there's significant ethnic and racial pressures which will force this commission to cluster and compact many cities together. There's also an excellent opportunity to create a racially diverse, moderate district along the 210 corridor by keeping the foothill cities together, by working horizontally along the mountains to the north and the 210 to the south. The Commission has a rarest opportunity to bring in communities of interest and multi-ethnic diverse populations together to form a corridor of small to mid-sized cities with very similar but racially diverse citizens. The foothills also have the greatest number of African Americans, though not a concentrated community. They're well represented. If you start in Claremont, connect the Foothill District to Altadena, and you asked the question about Altadena a while ago, there's 42,000 representatives, 23% African American, and that may be part of the problem. Why nobody wants to mention it. And since my time is running, one of the problems that we have in Pasadena as an African American community is that since we are not like the Asian and Latino communities, since we're not concentrated and yet spread along that whole 210 corridor, we lose opportunities. For example, and this may sound a little peculiar, seats at Pasadena City College, we don't get them. The irony and the joke in the black community is PCC doesn't stand for Pasadena Community College, it stands for Pasadena Chinese College, because that's where the seats go. And they do come from those cities that we've been hearing all about all tonight. It's very well organized, very orchestrated. They end up with the seats, our kids end up with no place to go. And I'll just have two more sentences since I've done that little dance outside. Unlike the Asian and Latino communities, which dominate much of the San Gabriel Valley, African Americans are spread out and assimilated into the respective communities. To not string these small foothill nested cities together will further separate African Americans from their church communities, for example, Second Baptist in Monrovia. And I note when I Googled the Altadena, they mentioned some of the African American churches. There's 3 African American churches with over 100 years of age. Metropolitan Baptist Church, probably the largest one in Altadena, is not even mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, we have a question.
I do have a map that I did present.
Okay, there's a question.
It's a question and a disclosure. I happen to know Mr. Hopkins. How are you, sir?
Fine.
Good. Thank you for your testimony. I'm aware of the, for lack of better words, the centralization or clustering of certain African Americans in Altadena and in Pasadena. In fact, I attend many events over to Jesse Owens Park, so you may have seen me there as well. In terms of the larger numbers of African Americans along this corridor that you mentioned,
yes,
we know there's a significant number residing in Altadena, Pasadena. Along that corridor, in terms of the numbers, what would you say are the highest concentrations? We know there's some in some of us in Rialto and along that stretch of the 210 further east.
You have,
In terms of distribution, could you?
in Duarte, 9% of the 21,000, in Azusa, only 3%, in Monrovia, 8.6, almost 9% of the 36,000, in Pasadena, well, you've already mentioned that, 10% of the 137,000, going back the other direction, 4.69% of the 218,000 in Glendale. Claremont, with a population of 33,000, has 4.7. So those are the numbers, and if those you want me to pass those numbers along, I can.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 71.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the Commission. Thank you for this opportunity to address you, and thank you for the work that you're doing in this important historic transition in the state of California. I'm Bill Bogard, the mayor of Pasadena. With the close of business this afternoon, I'm completing my third four-year term in that role and begin a new four-year term on Monday. At the beginning of the evening, I submitted a full statement of my testimony, which includes attachments that are intended to document the historic relationships, operations, and public services among the cities of Glendale, Burbank, and Pasadena. My basic position in speaking to you tonight is that those three cities should, if at all possible, comprise the core of the districting that you decide in the months ahead, both at the congressional level and at the state level. The thing about our relationship with Burbank and Glendale is that it extends over decades and decades, and the range of services and savings involved is comprehensive. It includes fire services, police services, information technology, utility operation, coordination of legislative position, and workers' comp. A classic example is the Bob Hope Airport, the Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena Airport, which has been owned now for over 30 years by the three cities and provides an opportunity for regional transportation planning, which is invaluable. It is my hope that this commission will incorporate those three cities in the districts going forward, and then add the necessary areas that will comprise the full population requirements.
Any questions to the mayor?
You have a beautiful city.
A number of us have been staying in Pasadena. Those are from Northern California. We've had a wonderful time there. So.
Thank you very much.
So you said that you said to go to the neighboring areas for more population. Is there any particular direction you would ask us to go?
I'm not prepared to be helpful to the commission in that regard. I think you and your staff will be much more knowledgeable, but certainly Altadena and South Pasadena, as other witnesses have suggested tonight, would be complementary, in my view, to the kind of districts that we're talking about.
Thank you.
I'm starting to understand how you got to your fourth term.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Anchetta asked us for the population for these three cities combined. It's 432,181.
Would you repeat the number, please, Anna?
Certainly. 432,181.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.
Number 72.
Hello, my name is Lee Freeman. I've lived in San Gabriel for 63 years, retired corporate person, and for the last 14 years or so I served on our local school board, San Gabriel Unified School District. My point that I'd like to make tonight is I would encourage you, when you're drawing the different district lines, to try as much as possible to make sure that a given school district is within one congressional district, one senatorial district, one assembly district. Our school district has a part of it that are in two different districts in all three of those cases. And we're a small district, 4.5 square miles in area, 5,200 students, 1 high school, 1 middle school, 5 elementary schools, and 1 continuation high school. And it would be very helpful if, when we're looking for support and wanting to speak to our representatives, that there is one of each type that we can go to. We have struggled and succeeded in the past 19 years, over the last few years, passing school bonds, and that's difficult. We have done that. And so I would urge you to consider a school district, especially a smallish one, and there are several smallish ones in the San Gabriel Valley, and by that I mean 10,000 students or less, as a community of interest to be treated that way, a school district. Our diversity in our school district, very diverse, about 50% Asian students, 35% Hispanic students, about 10% white students, 7 or 8% of other ethnicities. And it has evolved over the years, and that is actually a very stabilizing thing because it changes with the nature of the area. So we consider ourselves a community of interest, and I would hope you would take that into account.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
Sir, do you have a map of the school districts that you can provide to us? It would be
I
great.
do, but I realize it's much too small for you to see, but the gentleman over here told me that I could get one to you. I have a bigger one at home, I just didn't bring it. 4.5 square miles, relatively compact, so we're not a gerrymandered school district.
Thank you very much, sir.
When you submit it, if you can identify the speaker number
I will.
along with it, then
I will. Number 72, it's appropriate because I am 72 years old.
Very good.
Number 73.
I'm not 73 years old. Hi, I'm Raymond Tam from the beautiful city of Temple City, and I want to talk about the western San Gabriel Valley in particular, which I would just loosely define as a region bounded by the 10 freeway, the city of Los Angeles, the 210 freeway, and the 605. And unfortunately, I didn't do the math beforehand, so I don't have any of the exact numbers for you. And one of the reasons why I'm talking is because I'm really frustrated with the way the current system is. And I'll use the example of my congressional representative. I mean, he's a nice guy and all, but frankly, half of his district is in Glendale and Burbank. And so we have problems in San Gabriel Valley that half of his constituents don't care about. For example, we have the 10 freeway and the 605 interchange, which is one of the worst ones in LA County, which by definition would be one of the worst ones in the United States. Almost every resident here in the San Gabriel Valley knows to avoid that place because it's just really bad for those of you who don't know it. And also we have problems with railroad crossings at grade level. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach, they handle obviously a lot of shipping from the Far East. But to get to the logistics hubs in the Inland Empire, they have to go through the San Gabriel Valley. So a lot of the crossings are at grade level, so the arms go down, traffic gets backed up to, for miles sometimes. And it's frustrating for me because I want to see someone who knows the San Gabriel Valley who say, hey, we've got problems that we need to solve, and all of my constituents, they may not all agree on these, but they realize that these are problems. So I encourage the Commission, keep the San Gabriel Valley together, because we've got a lot of things that other people in Burbank and Glendale, they don't care about. I mean, for one thing, we deal with a lot with freight, import-export. In Glendale and Burbank, they deal with who's going to show up on Entertainment Tonight or TMZ. It's just different industries. And so in conclusion, I strongly urge the Commission, keep the San Gabriel Valley together. We have problems that other people don't have, and the geography of this area it's conducive to defining these districts. And so one last thing, as a Cal grad, I'm just very pleased to see that there are 4 fellow Cal alumni on this board. Go Bears.
We won't hold that against you.
Number 74.
Yes, good evening, fellow commissioners. My name is Jack Hajinian. I'm a third generation Montebello resident. I'm the past chairman of the Montebello Chamber of Commerce. A county commissioner, serve on the Assessment Appeals Board, and I represent the Armenian National Committee San Gabriel Valley chapter. What I'd like to highlight tonight is when the time comes where you will be determining the district lines for that respective area where Montebello is located, I want to mention to you that Montebello is the oldest Armenian community in Southern California. Dates back to the 1930s. The Montebello community has an extension that reaches out from Topeka Rivera and Whittier. That is essentially the same community. And you have about an aggregate number of 15 to 16,000 Armenians within those three cities, with Montebello having the most, anywhere from 10 to 11,000. You'll find that the numbers that I give you tonight may not match up with the criteria that you will be presented through whatever program it is you're going to use, because Armenians tend to report their ethnic background a little differently. Some will put down other Armenians, some will put down Caucasian, some will even put white. That same Armenian community has a church in Montebello, the Holy Cross Cathedral, which its parishioners, would live in Montebello, Topeka Rivera, and Whittier. And a lot of the business owners have businesses along Washington Boulevard, Whittier Boulevard, and Beverly Boulevard. These are three main arteries that connect the three cities. What I do want to say is that one thing that doesn't make sense is the State Senate District, where that covers Montebello and Topeka Rivera, and it stretches all the way down to Huntington Park. People in Huntington Park and people in Montebello and Topeka Rivera do not have the same interests. So I would appreciate if the new districts made a little more sense geographically.
Excuse me, Chair. Just the question posed to you that's been asked many times this evening in terms of expanding your area, in terms of gaining the necessary population. If you have anything you'd like to say about other areas that you feel you could be included in.
Yes, great question. Actually, I left out one other area as an extension of that community would be Hacienda Heights.
Okay, and again, on a kind of a larger regional scale, particularly for the Senate and Congressional District with those larger numbers, just generally, do you see yourself going north or south or east or west?
I would go north. I wouldn't go south. I know that our Congressional District today includes Montebello, Topeka Rivera, Santa Fe Springs, Norwalk, and then it follows the 60 freeway along the City of Industry into Pomona. And it's obvious that people in Pomona and people in Montebello do not have the same interests. It's, the speaker before me mentioned great separation for rail. We're facing that problem in Montebello today. I don't think they're facing that problem, or that's not a focal point in those other cities like it is in Montebello.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, and good luck to all of you.
Thank you.
Number 75. Number 76. 77. 78.
Oh, here we go. And if 79 and
79.
80 and 81 are around, if you could come forward, we'd appreciate it.
You're 79 now?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
That's good. Good evening, and thank you not only for the effort you're doing, but your perseverance here on a Friday night. I stuck it out because, hey, they gave me 79, and I've lasted this long, I'm going to say. However, many of the people who have spoken already tonight have talked about the community of interest along the Foothill community. My name's John Buchanan. I live in the small town of Sierra Madre. I'm here in part because Sierra Madre has often been that little piece of the community you just add to whatever big mess you've already assembled just to add the 11,000 people to make it balance. That hasn't served us well. We actually now in an assembly district that is joined to the high desert out at Hemet and Apple Valley. Wonderful people all, but not really part of our community of interest. The community of interest that we have in Sierra Madre, I think, can be joined with the cities along the Foothill corridor, and is defined by a lot of discrete types of communities of interest. For example, we share a school district with Pasadena, and that has been historically the case since the early 60s. We share water with Arcadia and Pasadena because our water comes out of the groundwater of the Raymond Basin. In fact, with the city of Arcadia, we've been successful in getting federal funding to enhance our water supply and repair our water infrastructure because we could join with our neighbors just to the south of us and just on the east of us. We share a common area, a commonality with all the communities along the foothill, in that we want to preserve the hillsides because our city and other jurisdictional lands, for example, in Altadena, Pasadena, Sierra Madre, Arcadia, Monrovia, all go right up against national forest lands. And I heard an earlier speaker tonight talk about the need to include the communities to the south of those forest lands in those areas, and I think that's actually a very good idea because it is an important area where a lot of those lands are conservancy-held lands. And finally, I did want to make one last point. The transit, of course, is what I think really defines the area. And it defines it in one very particular way that doesn't get talked about. The planning now in the state of California is designed to have regional transportation planning coincide with housing and regional housing needs assessments. And so it is anticipated that the population will follow along the transit centers of the 210 and follow along the Gold Line. So what I'm submitting to you is that the community of interest along the foothill corridor will in fact match what is planned for by the planning, by the decision-making apparatus that is now in place in the state of California. And that's why I think the foothill communities actually do make a community of interest, and I hope you'll give that your consideration, and particularly for my little town of Sierra Madre. I'm the mayor of that town, and it doesn't get its due a lot of times, but we do have interest in common with everyone else.
Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Yes, so you mentioned the AB 32 and SB 375 impacts. Does that mean to you that those foothill communities are going to grow just because they're along major corridors of transportation, or what would you say?
No, I don't think they're necessarily going to grow. You know, I'm not a demographer in the sense that I could project population growth. What I'm suggesting to you is that the planning that is taking place and the way that planning is now aligned is to align transportation hubs along the 210 and transit centers along 210 with whatever density actually occurs. So as I think you go east, you'll probably find some more land that is buildable. Sierra Madre would tell you right now, and I would agree with it, we're built out. But we get a regional housing needs assessment, we just don't know where to put it. But nonetheless, our ability to be any part of that is dependent on our ability to work with our neighbors in an east-west direction, because that's where it impacts our particular type of land use. And so we would very much like to be part of an east-west divide that includes, among others, Pasadena, Altadena, our neighbors to the south, and Arcadia, and even Monrovia, among others.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Number 80.
Hello, everybody. My name is Alma. I am a student at Cal State LA, but I do live in Montclair. And I've been able to commute to Cal State LA thanks to the Metrolink train, which runs through some of the cities that I'm about to talk about: Claremont, Upland, Rancho, San Dimas, Laverne, Charter Oaks, Glendora, and San Antonio Heights. And as a student, I see the benefit to keep these cities within the same district because we have many colleges, like Laverne, Chaffey College, Citrus, Claremont College, and we need to have adequate funding for these schools and have them be accessible to our youth, and make sure that we have the opportunity also for our community to be employed in these schools. We also have many of our family and friends who work at the local shopping centers such as the Montclair Plaza, the Claremont Villages, Victoria Gardens, etc. And these shopping centers keep our money within our communities and also make it easy for us to get what we need to do, get locally. Also, last week I attended a music festival at the Claremont colleges, along with other festivals such as the Lebanon Festival in Upland. They give us, the youth, something to do, and also they give us a sense of identity, along with other little perks like the Drive-In in Montclair, which also employs many of our students from like Montclair High School and local high schools. And so I see the benefit in keeping these cities together, or these areas together, when you are considering drawing the lines.
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
speaker number 81.
Hello, good evening. My name is Jessica Alcocer. As a former student of Mount SAC, my city of interest is Walnut. However, I think that Walnut is part of a bigger community that includes Diamond Bar, Industry, Rolling Heights, Chino Hills, La Habra, Brea, Placentia, and Yorba Linda. I believe that these communities should be placed together because there is a ton of overlap between these cities, and the citizens benefit from this overlap. Not to mention that all these communities are connected by the freeways 10, 57, the 71, and the 60, which makes the community around these cities very convenient and accessible to all. For example, when I was a student at Mount SAC, I enjoyed shopping at the Spectrum, which is in Chino Hills, and I enjoyed shopping there because a lot of us were employed there at one point, so it's a very beneficial place for students to be employed because it's at close proximity to our campus. Also, when I was younger, I used to go trick-or-treating to the Brea Mall, which is in Brea, and it's a family tradition that we had. And I'd love to keep doing that with my niece and, whoever else is to come to our generations. So I believe that is a very good overlap between the communities. People from all over the communities go shopping at Brea, at the Spectrum, and other shopping centers around the area. Also, I enjoy getting golf lessons from my dad, so we do that at the Diamond Bar Golf Course. And I'm not very good at it, but he loves teaching me, and I love hanging out with him, so, that's something that we do as well. And overall, we love and we enjoy hiking at the state park in Chino Hills, and it's just something that we do as a family with friends all together. So overall, our interests as a family stay within the community and around that area. Lastly, my education at Mount SAC provided me with the opportunity to go to Cal State LA, which I am actually graduating pretty soon, and it's very easy to get there from the 10 freeway, the 60, the 57. So thank you very much.
Yeah, we have a question. Yeah.
Sure.
If you could look at the map, if the orange area has caught everything that you said, I think that we might have missed about one or two. The La Habra?
I believe, industry as well?
Yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
Hacienda Heights? Did you
Chino
have
Hills?
Chino Hills, yeah.
Yeah, and Rolling Heights.
Mm-hmm.
And Placentia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I believe you got it.
Okay.
Thank
Did you
you.
mention Hacienda Heights in your list?
No, not Hacienda Heights, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Number 82.
Hi. I'm Claudia. I live in the small city of Montclair near Glendora, Charter Oaks, San Dimas, Laverne, Claremont, San Antonio Heights, Upland, and Rancho Cucamonga. I'm a full-time student at Cal Poly Pomona. There are a lot of colleges in these areas that offer students different options for a higher education. There's Mount San Antonio College, the Claremont Colleges, and the University of Laverne. A lot of these same residents who attend these schools also work in them. Staying together then is very important to me because my education is important. I will be graduating in June and plan to continue my education at these same schools, as well as continue to work in them. Our resources are important, such as tuition and jobs, especially in this economy. I'm not all about work, though. On my free time, I like to visit shopping centers like the Claremont Village and Victoria Gardens. On a hot sunny day, instead of being in class, you better believe I'd rather hang out with my friends and cool off at Raging Waters. I might be a bad voter, but I care a lot about these resources. When drawing the lines, please consider to keep these communities together. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. Oh, we have a question.
Both you and the prior speaker had mentioned Victoria Gardens. Are you only including that as your identified community interest due to the shopping connection, or do you have any other connections with, that's Rancho Cucamonga right there?
So far, yes.
I'm sorry, what else do you have in common with the area of Rancho Cucamonga with Victoria Gardens other than shopping there?
My mom works in Rancho Cucamonga, actually.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much.